2023 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Mike, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of June 19th, 2023. We have two resolutions. Resolution 2328, resolution supporting landfill of North Iowa recycling examination process, and a resolution 2329, certificate of resolution for 2023 for the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, Section 123 premium only plan. D, approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy, and we have no license and permits this meeting. Motion, please, to approve the consent agenda, and keep in mind we have two resolutions there, of which we will take a roll call vote. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Dana, that we approve the consent agenda. Roll call. Any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. The consent agenda is approved, as are Resolution 2328 and Resolution 2329, both of which are duly adopted. Number 4 on your agenda, if there's any citizen in the audience that wishes to address the council on any issue or concern that is not on the agenda, please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it into the minutes. This is not a discussion time, nor a question and answer time, but an opportunity for you to state your issue in front of the council. Not appearing, I'll move on to unfinished business. 5A, the Bash at the Lake special event application and street closure request, from July 29th. We need a motion to take this item off the table. I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mike, that we remove Bash at the Lake special event application and street closure request off of the table and for action this meeting. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. And now, is there any discussion with regard to the motion to take it off the table?
Mayor, I would first like
Yes,
to
sir.
let everybody know that Mike Colby and I had an opportunity to meet with this group after our last meeting, and I would like if Mike would take a minute or two just to talk to some of the things that we talked about at the meeting, and that will maybe help answer some questions as well.
Okay. Welcome, Mike.
Council, good morning, or good afternoon, I guess. Yeah, we met about 10 days ago with some of the planners for the events. Dana and I did, and as your map, if you look at it, it's very familiar to the July 4th carnival closures there with some additional ADA parking and the roads closed around the city park. I know that was the topic of discussion at the last meeting. After meeting with them, looking at traffic flow patterns that we've had this last week and through the weekend, and with the expected number of patrons at the event, I would recommend, and the department would recommend, that we go forward with the map and the street closures as submitted there for a couple of reasons. One, I was at church in the park this last weekend, and Zion Church, they host that. They do a count every week how many attendees they have. They had just about 1,000 attendees last Sunday, and if you look at that, and I think the estimates were 5,000 to 7,000 at this event. So if you take that number of people in the park and you take that times 5 or 7, that's a lot of people coming and going. With that egress and in and out of the park, that's a lot of foot traffic there. And for the police department to be able to control that area, and with the events and the stuff they have set up on Main and some of the surrounding roads there, it'd be a lot safer for us and easier for us to control the pedestrian traffic and vehicle traffic, just have those roads closed. Just on the sheer volume right there, even if we didn't have the number of, or they didn't have the request for the number of vendors and everything in the streets, I think that would be a wise idea. So after our conversation a couple days ago with the event planner and stuff, that'd be our recommendations there from the department is proceed with that closure there, just based on those numbers and the events being held there that day. Any questions?
Thank you. Council, any further discussion? Yes.
Excuse me, I have one for Mike. Yeah. I don't have a problem with your plan, except, once again, I would like to point out that this typically impacts the neighborhood I live in a very big way.
Yes, sir.
And I don't see anything about second and third on this one, where the traffic from the downtown area is pushed north, and we create all kinds of giant.
Correct. So what's not on your
Traffic
map
jams.
that we do every event is we don't put all the signage there that Jeremy and I work through at Public Works. And so if we do that road closure, you see on your map there on Lakeview and that 1 to 200 block there, we'll put do not enter signs at second and third, which then by default makes that basically a one-way street there, which then alleviates the traffic problems through there. So those are just the closures. It doesn't have the actual where the signage would be, the barricades and everything. It's just where the actual road would be closed.
Basically similar to what we've got going on this week.
Very much so. We won't do parking permits for that area just
No,
just
I
because
bet.
of it's a one-day event. But
Right, no.
road closed and open will be the same. Signage will be very similar. The ADA parking will be similar. And we've had, and I think you and I have talked, sidebar, we've had a lot of positive comments from the neighbors, the neighborhood there about how we've altered that traffic flow for these events
Yep.
to not have those congested areas in that little
Yeah.
neighborhood there.
Because obviously with a couple hundred parking spots we lose in the downtown area, a good share of that gets thrown north. And, you know, navigating those streets, you know, it especially for some of us senior citizens, it's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. And I can't solve one of those in 10 years, let alone a few seconds like they do. And so this is quite helpful. So.
You and me both. I just take the stickers off and redo it that way.
All right. All right. Well, anyway, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank
Council?
you. Council, any other comments?
Yes, Mayor, I think it looks like a good plan. Thank you to the committee that met with the folks to put it together, and thank you to all you folks who came today. It's going to be a great event for Clear Lake, so look forward to it. Thank you.
No other comments seem to be coming. Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to approve the special events application and street closure request as requested by the Bash at Lake Special Event Application Group. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Gary, that we approve the special events application and street closure request. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. We'll move on to 6A under new business, update from the Clear Lake Pickleball Club, an update on fundraising efforts by Jeff Burt's president. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman, Scott, everybody. Thank you. Back up just a bit. Thank you for your support in getting us the stage and getting us set and getting us underway. It's your support and your patience has been awesome. Scott and I visited a week or so back and suggested possibly that maybe give you a bit of an update of where we are financially, and that we think we've got the wheels on the thing and are kind of ready to go. This is an exciting, we call it a city project because we can't do it without you guys. We're sort of the user advocates, being the pickleball club, the tennis community, and ultimately some basketball. So it is a three-sport complex that we're sort of putting together here. What I brought along, I thought I would share just some of the financials. What I put together is it's sort of like a three-phase look that I pitched to Creighton. Oops, I didn't get it as far as what will be done when and what the financials are, each of those components. Some of these come from the estimates that Scott and Creighton were kind enough to get from us from Heartland Asphalt, some of the bigger pieces to the puzzle. Those are estimates. It looks as though as we get B&K involved, I think that's the direction we're going to go as project management, that they'll help us kind of force out some good bids and bring things along. So what you're looking at there, what you're looking at there is 3 phases with the finances estimated in each of those phases. Total right now comes in at $211,325. If you jump down to the bottom left, this is current funding in the yellow area. Our goals, what we have in hand or committed, and then where we go from there. Obviously, we've got the city's commitment. That's been key to the whole thing to really get that momentum. We have the county's commitment at $30,000, the school district at $17,500. Then we set a club cash goal from our membership at large of $40,000, a grants goal at $30,000, and a corporate sponsorship, business sponsorship goal at $20,000, bringing us to total potential of $238,205. Then the next column over is in hand. City, county, school district. Right now, our club cash goal of $40,000, we're at $23,006, and that's really just gotten underway probably in the last 10 days to 2 weeks. Grants, we're at $17,500. And corporate, these are the calls, the door knocking we need to start doing to kind of bring in some court sponsorships. We're at $5,000. Of course, our good friends at CLTEL stepped up right away. The 2 grants, if you look in that blue section, the 2 grants that we've gotten are the Hanson/MBT. We're actually going to do, I think, a photo op with those folks on Wednesday, and that's a $15,000 grant from the Hanson Foundation. The Sabin KCCF is actually one of our members, has a foundation out of Kansas City. They're giving it in the tune of $2,500. We're just putting it into that category. So right now we feel like we're well on the way. We've got of the club goal, we've got $46,100 of our club goal of $80,000. So that's that piece. Did I run through that way too fast? Next piece is really this is just a banner, piece of art. We just posted this particular banner out at the court, just to kind of let visitors and guests and club members know that we're underway. By the way, this morning we had 8 courts worth of people out there. We have 6 courts we're playing on. We had 3 courts just full of visitors, guests. It was terrific to see that kind of activity. The next sheet is really for your information. These are our partnership levels that we're pitching to community and business sponsors. For some of these different levels, they get mentions on the website, they get mentions on the windscreen. There's going to be a board that you can see on the kind of the next sheet. They'll get some kind of sponsor donor benefit. Then that last sheet is really just some of those benefits in sample form. We're working with Bob Lazier and Lazier Sign and Graphics. Court sponsors at a certain level will get like a notation on Court Net that it's might be CLTEL Court 1, that sort of thing. Gives them a little bit of kudo for their help. We do plan to develop a donor patron permanent signage out there. And then that last one is just kind of a representation of the wind screens that'll have logos and artwork on them. Also looking at, I have about another $24,000 in grants pending right now, so nothing that I can really whisper about that. Looking for some in-kind, we think, from Country Landscapes, Lazier Sign and Graphics, and that's sort of a quick, giant overview. Any questions, anything I could?
Thank you. Council, any questions for Mr. Burtz?
I'd just point out, Your Honor, that, again, this, as Jeff mentioned, there's a couple components to the project. Of course, the tennis courts that are there now remain. This is the project to construct new pickleball court facilities as well as a new dedicated basketball facility. So the school's contribution is only for the basketball
court component of the project that would include lighting. So there's those other components to it as well, so.
Of the overall, that $200,000+ budget, about $100,000 of it is basketball related. So their 17.5 will, it just gets sort of pointed at that. And we're facilitating raising the rest of that fund.
Right. Yeah, I think what's exciting about it, Jeff, it really upgrades that area down there. And again, nice collaboration with the school and with your group there. And so I think it's very exciting to add that kind of amenity, outdoor amenity to Clear Lake. So thank you for all your work and doing it. You've been very persistent. And again, it's terrific. I mean, I think it's going to really be a nice.
And we're really,
yeah.
even though we're pickle brains, we're looking at it as a 3-sport complex. I mean, that's going to be a destination spot, for events and tournaments and tennis courts. We're going this morning. Nobody on basketball again, but we think it's a 3-sport complex now.
Yeah, it'll really improve it down there.
Yeah,
so
terrific.
thank you.
Remiss not to point out that the property does belong to the school, so their contribution of land is appreciated for the overall project as well. And again, as you pointed out, Mr. Smith, the nice cooperation between the county, the school district, a private group, and the city government. So,
Yeah. Well done.
Appreciate everything too.
I
Mike?
make a comment? Thank you. I've spent a lot of time down on that particular location as a coach for many years, and it's slowly developing into some new things, and that's really exciting. Sitting up here, this concept of a public-private partnership is a lot easier for us to make decisions in spending the taxpayers' money. So once again, I really appreciate your efforts on this and the community efforts. And as we've seen historically through the years, we have many community partners that are willing to step up and once again try to make something wonderful happen for Clear Lake that will benefit many, 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 many people. So yeah, once again, this is good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks for your support.
Yep, and once again, as Scott mentioned, this is a continuation of how those original tennis courts got there. That was a public, the school and the city at the time in the early 70s, as well as the feds. The feds put out a grant from the USDA in which those courts got built. And then we put them up and we didn't put a fence around. Wrong. We did get a fence and later on put around there, and then the windshields and so on. Or windshields, is that? What do you call
Screens.
them? Screens, there you go. Windshields on the cars.
Mayor Crabb, do you remember the previous school area tennis courts?
It was a cow pasture.
No. I mean, where this wellness center parking lot is, they put some
Tennis
nets
courts.
up in that parking lot. And then the previous history of tennis courts in Clear Lake were Lions Field for many, many, many years. And yeah, so sorry, I can't help myself on these history lessons.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Appreciate your work. Appreciate your help on this as well. Thank you. Okay, 6B, 173 Distillery Special Event Application and Street Closure Requests, Thursdays on Main. Intro, Jennifer Larson, our city clerk. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Mayor. The city has received a special events and street closing application from the 173 Craft Distillery. Their business is located at 306 First Avenue North. In conjunction with Thursdays on Main, they are requesting to close a portion of First Avenue North between North 3rd and the north-south alleyways perpendicular to the street. City staff, representatives of the chamber, and other affected businesses, along with 2 members of the city council, met last week to review the review the request with the applicant. The recommendation was to bring the request forward to the council for further consideration. The applicant is agreeable that should there be an event at the funeral home, which is located next door, that would be in conflict with the request, under those circumstances, the street would remain open. So unless you have any questions of me, I will invite Brad Peterson with the distillery to review the request.
Council, any questions for Jennifer? Thank you, Jennifer. Review a request by Brad Peterson, 173 Distillery. Welcome, Brad.
Scott, Jennifer, Mike, John, everybody, dignitaries. I'm kind of the new guy in town, so I feel it's a little bit important that I let you know who we are, who I am. So if you'll allow me, please, to read a statement. My name is Brad Peterson. I'm retired from Alliant Energy. I'm presently one of the co-owners at 173 Craft, also a council member in Ventura. Fourth upon us, summer is in full swing, and so are we. I must say we couldn't be happier or more appreciative of the wonderful support and patronage we've received from Clear Lake, Ventura, and surrounding area. Fortunately, our business is already having growing pains, but that's a good problem. It's taken a lot of hard work, dedication, and capital to get us to this point in just a little over a year. Most of you understand we purchased a building that was in so-so condition, but we realized its potential, and along with a wonderful location, we have not only greatly increased its property value, but we have created what we believe to be an exciting destination. A destination within a destination, of course, Clear Lake. One of our main goals is to create a strong brand for who we are as people, as a business, and the spirits that we produce. And along with a solid plan of distribution, get our product on the shelves of the retailers, far-reaching from our distillery. Our goals are to be a very positive community partner and support our fellow businesses, sponsor local chamber events, and really just be a good steward to Clear Lake and represent it in a respectable and classy way that it deserves. A few cities were looked at before we decided to build our business and our brand from this location. But in the end, we chose Clear Lake for a few reasons, but two important ones were how sharp and supportive the city government is, and the chamber, and they have proved us right. But so as not to be leaguer on any longer why I'm here, our request is to ask the council to please be inclusive and grant us the ability to be included in Thursdays on Main by setting up 2 more barricades that would allow pedestrian traffic to flow freely from the existing area to ours. We've already resolved any issues that we're aware of with our neighboring businesses. Now, I also think this added area is much needed to the growth of Thursdays on Main. It potentially loosens up some bottleneck areas that exist. It increases vendor space, and with the traffic that people that do walk to our business, I think it creates a little safety buffer as well. Thank you.
Council will do this as well. And if any of you, have any questions from Brad, now is the time to do it. Then I'll excuse Brad, and we'll discuss that ourselves up here. So now, are there any questions for Brad at this point? No questions at all? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, council. Discussion with regard to the special event application and street closure request by 173 Distillery.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to comment on that. First of all, I want to thank you, Brad, for coming today and for the meeting we had the other day with the chamber. Thank you to them for coming and others. Chief Colby was there to discuss this issue. Thursdays on Main is just a fantastic event for Clear Lake. And I do appreciate the investment that you and your partners have made in Clear Lake, and thank you for your service on the Ventura Council. Having said that, I guess, the concern I have is about the traffic flow through that area right now. And I'm also wondering if it might be better to, I know we discussed the idea of your business having a vendor tent on Thursdays on Main, and that whole concept to drive business to the distillery. So I guess my sense of it is we might be better off this year if you would consider moving forward with that kind of concept. And then I would be open-minded for next year to expanding the footprint for Thursdays on Main. But I guess my position on it right now is I think I would be opposed to closing the street at this point this year. But I would certainly give it due consideration for next year in conjunction with the chamber to talk about the footprint for Thursdays on Main. So that's kind of my thought process on it. And again, thank you for coming and presenting your case for it.
Thank you. Any other comments, Council?
I was the other councilman at that meeting, Brad. And I want to thank you for coming today. It's my suggestion to bring this forward to the council. I agree with what Bennett's saying in part. We need to keep traffic flow up there. I observed it from 8 o'clock on. People are leaving up there. I too will vote no for this year. And see how it goes. And do what was suggested of a tent or something on Main Street. Maybe you can bring us some more information to the council next year. Say, look, I had this many people handed out something and they showed up. That shows that they're going to get there. Other than that, I really don't have anything more to say. But I wish you all the success in the world there.
Thank you. Any other comments, council discussion? I'd like to comment on the premise originally for Thursdays on Main, and I know Scott and I were there. There could have been others at the time, but there were two people that ran a clothing store on Main Street and came to Scott and myself and requested that we close Main Street for this event on Thursday evening. Well, you can imagine back then that was quite a major step, and we thought about that and discussed it more and more with those individuals over the weeks, and finally brought it to council, and we gave it a try. And you see where that try has led us. Unbelievable event that goes up and down on Main Street, with none of the side streets included at this point in time. It has been a real boon to the community, to retail along that particular area and around that area, and to the whole community when people come to town. It's an event that the community, the citizens, and I would say all North Iowa looks forward to. The only competition we have is the Med City across the border, who also have Thursdays on Main, known as Rochester. And it is a wonderful, well-organized event by our chamber, and we thank them for it. When the distillery came, I think Scott and me, and perhaps there were others there, where the two gentlemen came, one from Minnesota, the other from here, North Iowa. Both were related to each other, and they talked about the chemistry of it all, blew this mind away. How are you going to develop all of this in Clear Lake, and where were you going to develop it? And they knew the exact building, and in turn, those two gentlemen at that time were the only members of that group, and spent a good deal of money in renovating what was, for me anyway, the old doctor's office. And later it was a superintendent's office, but it is a wonderful addition to our community at this point in time. And they have put on the rooftop a big area where people can go up there and socialize and partake of the various types of distilled spirits, you might say, at that point in time, with some heavy hors d'oeuvres, I do believe, that accompanies that. Now, where that street is blocked off there is where I have a big question, because you can flow through from Lakeview Drive up on First Avenue North all the way through until you would come, if this came to fruition, to that point which the request says should be blocked off. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that's 3rd Street up to the alley before you get to 4th Street. And to me, that's kind of a bump in the road right there. At this point in time, I don't think that's an appropriate place for it. I love that distillery, 173. I love what those people have done. I'm pleased that they came to town. I just don't think that is the 3-letter word FIT for that area at this point in time. Any other comments, council?
Yeah, just one I'll pile on here. Once again, I congratulate them on their business acumen and success, but once again, thinking of my own neighborhood, this would manage to divert traffic back to the north, and even Thursdays on Main has become so popular that the parking is at a premium on the north side of the main avenue. And the traffic pattern, First Avenue South allows you to flow through from South Shore Drive to 8th Street, south of where everything's closed off. Conversely, First Avenue North, which I happen to grow up on, but quite a few blocks to the east, allows that same flow. And one quick comment about Thursdays on Main. It prompted a memory. Had relatives that lived in Thornton, Iowa, and not much going on retail-wise in Thornton anymore. But in the old days, Saturday night, most little towns in America, all the businesses were open, and the farmers would all come to town, and there was a big retail bonanza. And actually, at that point, in the 50s, Clear Lake was somewhat of a farm town, and the businesses were open on Saturday night. Well, that's kind of the feel I get on Thursdays on Main, with a little added entertainment, of course. But so I'm not in favor of this at this point either.
Any other discussion, council? Not appearing, therefore, is there a motion to approve special events and street closure request by 173 Distillery Special Events Application and Street Closure Request Group? Not appearing. Motion dies for the request at this point in time. Thank you. Appreciate all of the discussion with regard to that request. We'll move on to number C, letter C, purchase of 2023 Dodge Charger Police Patrol Vehicle from Stu Hansen Dodge, Urbandale. Review a request, Interim Chief of Police, Mike Colby. Welcome,
Good
Mike.
afternoon again, Council and Mayor. You'll see in your packet the request for a budgeted purchase of a replacement 2023 Dodge Charger. Replaces our 2019 Dodge Charger that was slated this fiscal year to be recycled out at the 4-year mark. Unfortunately, that vehicle was involved in a crash at no fault of the officer driving it, and the vehicle was going to be repaired, but once they got into doing some taking parts off of it, it's going to be totaled out now too. So the replacement vehicle is on the lot down at Stu Hansen's. We did do some research when we submitted the budget back earlier this year on prices, and this is by far the most economical vehicle we could purchase. All the equipment that's in our current vehicle will change over to this one, so there's no need to buy a new push bumper, cage, center console, light bar mounts, all that stuff in it too there. So we just request that the council would approve that purchase, and just for a ballpark cost benefit there for you. An identical Explorer, if we were to purchase, would be about $46,000, and a Dodge Durango would be about $42,000. So this is by far a lot cheaper purchase there. So any questions or about the requested purchase there? And I will say that I think we're estimating about $14,000 come back to us on that vehicle value totaled, and there's about 1,400 and change of equipment that was damaged in that crash. That'll be supplement as well from insurance for the replacement.
Council, any questions for Interim Chief Colby?
Just a recollection, I think this is the second squad car that we've got some insurance money on as we replaced it in recent years. Anybody else recall that?
We had a 2012 Caprice that hit a deer that was totaled out. That would be a similar type of circumstance, yeah.
Yeah, was that Paul driving that one at that
Officer
point?
Trapp.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of something different, but, and then recently, an ambulance replacement because of a collision, so I guess since no one gets hurt, this is not a terrible thing for replacing vehicles, but probably not something we want to keep doing.
No, it's a few months earlier than we anticipated doing it for the budget year, but the funding was there. We'd planned on it, and it's sitting on the lot too, and so we're gonna hopefully move on it pretty quickly if we can.
Isn't there an amount we're getting from the insurance on the equipment too?
Yeah, it's just a little over $1,400. So about $14,000, I'm guessing, for the car, give or take, and then another $1,400 for the equipment. And then $1,400 includes some labor to uninstall and reinstall the new equipment, which will then save us on the installation fees that we'd already budgeted for that piece of equipment that was damaged.
Okay.
Everything's been in the budget since January for this.
Correct. And
Correct, yeah.
so we really are kind of benefiting for the value coming back for the damage, because we had already planned on buying all this stuff anyways in the budget.
I was just going to mention, we have 2 vehicles budgeted for fiscal year '24, so.
Any other comments, questions, council?
Point out again, even though there's some adjudication left to be resolved regarding the claim itself, the other driver, I think Mike had kind of alluded to the fact that the other driver was cited by an outside law enforcement agency for that collision, so it was not our driver's fault, but our insurance company will take care of it while they work it out with the other party's insurance, so won't be any sort of negative implications on our property and casualty insurance.
Good. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? We'll go. Okay, thanks. Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of a 2023 Dodge Charger from Stu Hansen Dodge in Urberdale in the amount of $35,852. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Gary, that we approve the purchase of a 2023 Dodge Charger from Stu Hansen Dodge in Urbandale. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. And now, Interim Chief of Police report.
Couple of things. If you're not aware, there's a carnival going on uptown. There might be a few guests here because of that. So I did a real quick stats poll for us at the PD this morning. I'll give you a couple numbers of what our officers and dispatchers have been dealing with the last couple of days. From June 30th at 7 in the morning till 7 o'clock this morning in 2021, we had 203 calls for service. 2002, we had 286, and this year so far we had 320. So we've had a pretty significant increase in the calls for service that our officers have been dealing with in our CSO and the dispatch center. And I'll just give them all some pretty good accolades there. They've dealt with some pretty decent incidents there over the last couple of weeks or a couple of days, and they've gone without a hitch too. So kudos to the staff there that were working with the police department. They've done very well the last couple of days. Aaron and I discussed that this morning too, and are both very happy with way our staff's been performing under the increased load. We do have an open position for police officer. We have interviews scheduled for next week. Hopefully get that wrapped up here within the next 2 to 3 weeks and have a name out of that candidate pool there. We did take delivery of our dispatch upgrade equipment there on the 28th. So that was paid under the last fiscal year that ended last week, and that was an amendment there too. And so if you haven't been over there, some of the equipment in there is old and worn out and damaged and too. And so we were able to get that. Aaron was able to get that stuff at a pretty good deal, and we appreciate the council amending our budget last year so we get that. And then starting next week on the 10th, we have our new in-car camera, interview room, and body-worn camera project. That stuff will be installed, and $63,000 of that equipment, or all the hard equipment there, was paid for by seized funds from illicit activities in the area that we've had cases on too. So that'll all be installed and live next week, and that's going to really make us leaps and bounds from where we're at now with the equipment we have there, from the technology, and we're looking forward to that. So I would come over next week after Thursday or Friday when everything's installed, and we can show you all the new technology we'll have in our cars and the officers and the interview there if you guys would like to. And I'm just going to plug it. I know I've done it before, but the unticketing.org that we've been doing all summer with the Iowa State Extension Office and the DOT. So if anybody hasn't registered, I encourage you to do so. And that is all I have for you, unless there's any questions on those items.
Questions? Thank you. Good report. Appreciate that. Public Works Director, we don't have a report at all. Under Mayor's report, we're on number 9 for those of you following our agenda. Need a motion with regard to the appointment of Becky L. Schwab, 404 Pine Brook Drive, to the North Iowa Corridor Economic Development Corporation Board, representing Clear Lake. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve the appointment of Becky Schwab to the North Iowa Corridor Economic Development Board. Is there any discussion?
I'd just point out, Your Honor, Becky, of course, is an engineer licensed in Iowa and Minnesota both, lives here in Clear Lake, has been very active and done some projects here with us, and be remiss not to point out she'll succeed my distinguished friend here to the right who served 6 years on that board. So thank Mark for his service, and he did a fantastic job as the liaison from the city to that board.
Thank you, and I as well. Mark did a great job, really, representing us for those years. Okay, at this point in time, we're going to have a mayoral proclamation declaring the week of July 3rd, 2023 as the 50th Annual Evans United Shows Week. And for that proclamation, Council, I'd like this half, if we could go down front here and form kind of a semicircle, and this side go down, including Scott and Jennifer, and I will make that proclamation. Oh, all right. We missed the vote? Did we miss that? I got so excited about Tom Evans here that I just didn't get it.
It's done. We'll fill it.
We got it? All right, we got it. Proclamation by Mayor Nelson Crabb. Whereas Evans United Shows Plattsburgh, Missouri was started in 1947. Whereas Bill and Ruth Evans of Evans United Shows' first 4th of July Carnival in Clear Lake, Iowa was in 1974. And whereas third generation showman Tom Evans and his late brother Jim Evans built and expanded the family carnival business exponentially. And whereas the Evans family has become an integral part of Clear Lake's cherished July 4th tradition, spread excitement throughout the community. And whereas the 4th of July celebration draws tens of thousands of people to Clear Lake every year to celebrate our nation's independence. And whereas the Evans families' unwavering dedication and commitment for 50 years have made Clear Lake's annual 4th of July celebration. And whereas in the celebration of the 50th annual Evans United Shows visit to Clear Lake, the Evans family has been selected as the Grand Marshal for Clear Lake's 4th of July parade. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, as mayor of the city of Clear Lake, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the week of July 3rd, 2023 as the 50th annual Evans United Shows. And I urge all citizens and visitors to join me in congratulating the Evans family on this momentous milestone. Their exceptional contributions and enduring spirit have brought happiness and countless cherished memories to our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Clear Lake to be affixed on this 3rd day of July 2023. Congratulations.
Clear Lake's always been special to us. We play a lot of different places, but it's always, all the friends we've made over the years. I could tell the 50 years on a lot slower this year over 50 years. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you. Congratulations.
You are Clear
Hey,
Lake.
can we get a picture? Get Mom up here.
Yeah.
Let's get her.
Under Chamber, Stacy, do you have anything? Okay, perfect. All right, good. City Administrator's Report, Rebuilding America Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity, the RAISE grant, 4th Avenue South, Multimodal Corridor Project. Scott?
Yep, just a couple of things here, Your Honor. As you mentioned, the RAISE grant, we're notified by Senator Grassley's office last week that the application that we had submitted under the RAISE program, the Rebuilding American Infrastructure Sustainability and Equity Grant, was approved. There were only 2 cities in the state of Iowa that got their application funded. And I read an article by a consultant that works on those. They fund like 5 to 7% of the applications they get. So last year in Iowa, there were 3 cities that were funded, Davenport, Dubuque, and Waterloo. This year it was Cedar Falls and Clear Lake. There were 9 other counties that got funding for bridges, which I don't think that takes a lot to get those funded. Those are probably in dire need, so they look for opportunities to fund those. But I think for communities to get funding in that program, very, very difficult task, to say the least. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that one if you hadn't seen that already. Also, we've
Well,
been
hold on, Scott. Can I comment
go
on
right
that
ahead.
real
Yeah.
quick? I just want to say thank you because you know what? People need to understand, you have a ton of things on your plate from all the projects we have going. And one of the things I really appreciate about this is the proactive leadership that you've shown in getting a grant like that. I mean, as you said, only one other community in this state got one of those. So just want you to know, I think it's quite an achievement, and thank you for your leadership with it.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. We did have a meeting with Absolute Waste Removal to talk about curbside recycling. As you know, we do every 2-week curbside recycling, so we wanted to get a proposal from them and negotiate on the opportunity to increase that to weekly. So we've got something in the works there that I hope to bring back to the council for the next meeting to have some discussion on that. We get quite a bit of comments about people wishing it was on a weekly basis, so we'll see what we can get going in that regard. We do not any longer have the drop boxes, so I think whatever we do as far as additional curbside opportunities for our residents is going to be a positive thing. Unfortunately, the curbside or the recycling drop boxes became, and this is not uncommon, I've seen this in town after town after town, when cities try to do this, then they become the drop point for like 100 other cities, and then there's a lot of abuse that goes on with that. So I think the curbside, additional curbside would be favorable for the residents of the community, especially in light of losing that opportunity. The last item I would mention about is the South Shore Estates groundbreaking. Mr. Ridge, the developer of that property, formerly known as the Lake Time subdivision, recently closed with a local bank here in town on the property, so he is primarily the sole owner of that. There's one other partner in that, but he is starting on that project. We'll have a development agreement for your consideration. We go through, set the date for the hearing on it, and then have the hearing, so we'll follow through on our development agreement opportunity there that we outlined previously. So that'll be coming back to council, but the groundbreaking is next Monday at 2 o'clock, and so if you can all attend that, I think he would appreciate that. If you remember, that's got the opportunity for some positive growth there at the just south of 26th Avenue South. You might remember the old Edna Clausen property there. So I think ultimately that's got the potential to have about 35, 36 residential units on it. On full build out, you're probably, and it'll take a little time, but full build out, you're probably looking somewhere north of $20 million in tax base that would be added to that area. So again, I think a positive thing that we had some town hall meetings on that, worked positively with the neighbors in the area there, and think we got everybody comfortable on a project that they're supportive of. So
Fantastic.
yeah, that's all I've got.
Mayor, could I make a comment
You
before
bet.
we?
Please do.
Sitting here this afternoon, almost on the 4th of July, I gave some thought to a concept that is pretty important to America, and that's the concept of public service. And I thought about the 5 other gentlemen sitting here with me, elected officials, and this group represents north of 60 years of council or mayoral service. And I compliment these gentlemen in the way they conduct themselves, the way we arrive at decisions with respectful discussion, and probably more importantly, the way Clear Lake has been able to grow and prosper and expand over the course of recent years. And if you talk to people like our city administrator, that doesn't happen in every community. And it's just been a real pleasure and fun to serve with these gentlemen. And also the concept of watching local government compared to some of the government at other levels right now. I feel real proud of the way it takes place here, and I have some concerns about the way it takes place at other levels. So here on the 4th of July, I think the citizens of Clear Lake are getting their money's worth. And anyway, I, for one, feel real proud to be part of this. So God bless America, and yeah, good.
Thanks, Mike. Well said. Any other business, council? Meeting adjourned.